Welcome to segment number 4A of our V-2 build series. This is an optional but highly recommended step. In this segment, we'll be applying filler to the seam between the fin assemblies and the airframe tube. Again, this is not a required step, but I do highly recommend it. It's a great way to build some skills. Let me provide a little background on the particular technique we'll be using in this step. Many years ago, I bought this video online. It is a tutorial video hosted by a very gifted modeler by the name of Floyd Werner. He's still out there, active on many of the internet websites that deal with scale modeling. He tends to specialize in World War II German aircraft. In this video, he uses a technique for seam filling where he applies Tamiya putty to seams and then removes most of that putty using Tamiya lacquer thinner and a whole bunch of Q-tips, not unlike this one right here. We're going to be using that particular technique on our model. We're going to put our own personal spin on this technique though. One of the things that's always vexed me about putting putty on a model is that I tend to put way too much on a model and then it's a pain in the butt to scrape off or sand off. Years ago, I started using oral application syringes. These are oral dosing syringes that are routinely available from just about any pharmacy. They're used for providing patients with very accurate dosages of liquid medicines. That was a great technique, but I was still putting too much on the model. That's when I figured out that I could use the CA application tip that I already had in my toolbox, and that would fit perfectly onto the end of that syringe. This gives me much more control over how the putty goes into the joint on the model. Let's get started on it. We've zoomed back out a bit, and now I've got my syringe with the tip on it, and I'm going to start up here at the front, and we're going to slowly apply a bead of putty along that joint. There we go. Now I'm going to take a Q-tip and I'm going to moisten it with the lacquer thinner, and I'm going to draw it along the joint where we applied it. Even then we can see how much more of the material we applied than was really needed. So I'm going to try to remove some of it from the sides, again using a moistened Q-tip. And then we're going to leave it alone. I'm going to go ahead and complete the other 7 joints on the model off camera, and then we're going to come back and do the next step. We're now ready to remove the excess putty using the technique we described earlier. I've got my Tamiya lacquer thinner and I've got a lot of Q-tips, about 30 or 40 of them. This process uses a lot of Q-tips. The process is very simple. You moisten the head of a Q-tip in the lacquer thinner and then slowly work it along the joint where the excess putty is. You vary the direction and stroke, and you'll slowly see the excess putty build up in the head of the Q-tip. I freely admit I stole this technique from Floyd Werner. There's an old saying, good artists borrow, great artists steal. I don't know what that means. Okay, that end of the Q-tip is already filled with putty. We're going to moisten the other end and continue. Okay, we're done with our first fin joint. That took just over 3 minutes. We'll now go and complete the other 7 fin joints.